enable.
Kotak Mutual Fund presents Invest Mentor in association with Network 18.
Hello and welcome to Invest Mentor, presented to you by Kotak Mahindra Mutual Fund in association with Network 18. This is an investor education initiative by Kotak Mahindra Mutual Fund, and I'm Sonia Shenoy. Now, one can invest in a mutual fund scheme in two ways, either by investing a lump sum amount or via a systematic investment plan, which we call an SIP. But there are many nitty-gritties, do's and don'ts that one needs to remember when it comes to investing in a mutual fund scheme. And to help us with all of that knowledge, joining me on the show today are two industry stalwarts, Manish Mehta, the Joint President and National Head Sales Digital Business and Marketing at Kotak Mahindra Asset Management Company, and Harsha Upadhyay, the President and Chief Investment Officer Equity at Kotak Mahindra Asset Management Company. Harsha, let me start with you. We have been doing this for decades, but there are so many people out there who still don't know the difference between SIP and lump sum investing and how it would help them. For an average retail investor who's just perhaps starting off, because we do know that there are so many millennials and Gen Z investors who are just entering the market, tell us the basic difference.
Lump sum investment, as one knows it, it's about investing a particular sum of money, usually a larger sum than what you invest on a systematic investment plan at any point of time. And you could do that because if you believe that you are investing for the long term and if you have a certain goal to be achieved, then accordingly you can make a lump sum investment. But for those who do not understand market or who do not bear the volatility of the markets, then I think systematic investment plans are the best route, because here you will be investing a certain sum, usually a small sum, but there is no limit. One can do large sum as well. But that will be done on a frequent basis. It could be weekly, it could be monthly, it could be bi-monthly. So one can choose the frequency and also the amount of investment and the investment period of systematic investment plan. So what it does is it helps you build a portfolio over a period of time, and the volatility of the market is kind of taken care in your investments. You will invest when the markets are high, you will invest when the markets are low. So overall, your averaging helps you.
Average it out.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Manish, comment on this. Is it fair to assume that an SIP route is the better option over a lump sum investment? And what is the basic difference and what is your advice to retail investors?
Sure. So in fact, we say SIP is an all-weather product, and irrespective where the markets are, one can definitely consider investing through the SIP route. That what should one do at this point of time? And as Harsha mentioned that, SIP definitely does help ironing out the volatility. So you buy more units when the markets are low and you buy lesser units when the markets are high. And that way, at least over a long period of time, you can, look to build sustainable wealth creation and large sums of corpuses over a period of time.
Okay, so leave a particular amount for investment every month and just forget about it. Let the experts do their work.
Yes.
All right, so we interact with a lot of viewers and followers on social media, and the most common question that gets asked, at least by young investors, is what is the minimum amount of SIP that I can invest? I guess, young investors don't have too much money to spend or invest as well. So, clarify that for us, Harsha. What is the minimum? Is there any minimum amount, and how should one go about it?
There is a minimum amount that's required in SIPs, but it's very low. I think any investor who is looking to participate can participate. It's as low as 500 rupees a month, and there is no limit in terms of how much you can invest. So you can start with a smaller sum in case your income is lower, or if you're just trying to understand the markets and the volatility, etc., and then go on to increase over a period of time. So that is absolutely possible.
So at a time when markets are, say, at record highs, is the best way to do it starting small? And, what is the approach, especially at this juncture of the market?
Sonia, there is no one size fits all kind of a solution here, because it all depends on one's risk tolerance, the income levels, what is their goal, etc. So I think you can work backwards. Let's say you have a certain goal 10 years down the line. It could be child's education, a marriage in the family, etc. Then you approximately know how much money you need for that particular event. Then you can try to understand and see what kind of investments, if you make on a monthly basis, will reach that particular goal. Obviously, nobody knows how the returns are going to be in the future, but you can take a ballpark number based on what has happened historically and see how much is required to reach that particular goal. Let's say you need a corpus of 1 crore at the end of 10 years. What is the amount that you need to make on a monthly basis, assuming, let's say, 10 or 12% returns? So that's one way to do it. The other way to do it is, let's say you have X amount of income on a monthly basis and you have certain expenses and there is savings that you have. And within that savings, how much can you set aside without worrying about what happens to that money in the next 1 month, next 2 months, etc. So that's another approach. So between these two, depending on how one wants to create that wealth, you can choose.
And what your risk appetite is.
Yes.
Okay. Now there are different types of SIPs, right? There is a regular SIP, a top-up SIP, a flexible SIP. What is the basic difference, and for an average retail investor, what should the right approach be?
Sure. So in fact, so the basic product is just the regular SIP where someone just decides to put in certain amounts of money for a certain period of time, and it's systematically getting debited from the bank and getting invested. The variants that the industry has introduced, like a top-up SIP or a flexible SIP, is more in terms of for those kind of investors, or as income levels rise. So today, as Harsha mentioned, that at a it's a millennial is starting, or a Generation Z is starting now investing, say, with 3,000 rupees monthly, but obviously over periods of time his incomes are also rising. And if someone's comfortable and loving the experience, and they would just potentially want to keep adding more to it, so that's what we call as the top-up SIP, where on your existing SIP you can potentially keep adding some money every year as your income levels keep rising. Flexible SIP is mostly in terms of it's like sort of gives you an opportunity to maybe buy more when the markets are low. And buy lesser when the markets are really very high. So these are variants at that industry level, or I would say add-on features of the product. But yes, the fundamental main product is the normal regular SIP. These are just features that one could potentially look to take advantage of as income levels keep increasing.
So is it prudent for someone who started off with a basic SIP, say of 5,000 rupees, is it prudent for him or her to add a lump sum somewhere down the journey as well? Or do you think that if you start with an SIP, that's the best way to look at it?
So in fact, what we've experienced is that most investors, when they just start an SIP, so somewhere they're saying, okay, there is certain amounts of monies which are getting invested every month, and that if there are certain surpluses which are in the banks, and there could be 1 or 2 particular day in a month where the markets may tend to get very volatile and see a very sharp correction. It's not necessary your SIP would have got triggered on that particular day, but if you have some money in the bank, you could always look to buy more lump sum in that extraordinary event or on that particular day. Okay. So continuing with your SIP and tactically looking at making lump sum purchases if you have distributable surpluses in the bank, I think would be a good way of approaching it.
Okay. The big debate, I think, is how many SIPs is the right number of SIPs, right? Because we do know that if you invest in, say, 2 or 3 large cap mutual funds, then there's replication of stocks as well that happens. So you're not really diversifying in any way. So what's the right approach, Harsha? How many SIPs should an average investor have?
See, it depends on how much one wants to invest, and maybe he or she can choose different categories of schemes depending on risk tolerance, expectations of returns, etc. As we all know, the small caps tend to be more volatile than large caps. So many people may not want to invest into small caps, or vice versa, depending on the risk appetite. So ideally, if you're buying more number of funds as part of SIP or as part of lump sum, it's better to choose funds from different categories so that your portfolio doesn't get replicated. For example, as of now, if you buy a large cap fund, 80% of that holding will be in large caps. But if you buy a mid cap along with that, then in that mid cap fund, at least 65% is going to be in mid cap. So overall, your asset allocation will be evenly placed between large caps and mid caps. So that's the essence of SIPs. One, it cuts volatility down because you are investing at regular intervals, and if you choose funds from different categories, then that reduces further in terms of risk.
Okay, that's very helpful. The basics of systematic investment plan and what you should do. Should you go in for SIPs or lump sum? But let's do one thing. It's time for a short commercial break. Don't go anywhere. I'll see you on the other side with lots more on Investmentor.
Kotak Mutual Fund presents Investmentor in association with Network 18. Kotak Mutual Fund presents Investmentor in association with Network 18.
Welcome back, folks. You're still watching Invest Mentor, presented to you by Kotak Mahindra Mutual Fund in association with Network 18. This is an investor education initiative by Kotak Mahindra Mutual Fund. And with me, I have Manish Mehta and Harsha Upadhyay from Kotak Mahindra Asset Management Company. We've been talking about SIPs and lump sum investing and how you can create wealth and create a good portfolio to meet all your life goals. Now, Manish, you were telling us about the different types of SIP investments. Does it differ based on what your life goals are? So, for example, I mean, your life goal may be luxury travel, my life goal may be my child's education. Does your investment route differ based on that?
So, what happens is that one, you set the goal that you have in mind, and I always say your goals could be short, medium, or long term. Like in case if it's a long term goal, there is certain amount of money that obviously you've decided today to keep parking, which will help you get that goal. What's been tested and proven is that obviously in case if there is disposable income that increases in your hands, and if you keep adding on through the form of a top up or something like that, chances are you'll achieve that goal faster. So that's one incentive which I think for a lot of investors do appreciate that. Fine, I mean if I had a plan to achieve something in 15 years, maybe by just doing this activity and adding more money, I'll probably maybe get it in 12 years time.
Add more money through the SIP route,
through the
or
SIP
through lump
route,
sum?
or through the SIP route, either
route.
in the form of a top up. So one obviously is if there is ability to keep adding to existing SIPs, or maybe start one or two other extra SIPs, chances are you will probably be able to achieve your the goals that you have in mind much faster. The problem also which we experience is that a lot of people, they sort of they start an SIP and they don't do too much about it. Yes, obviously they're following the discipline of investing, and it's helping them achieve the goal. What many people don't realize is, again, as over a period of time, your income levels are sort of increasing, and there could be more distributable or surpluses which are in the bank, then probably going into maybe investments like a fixed deposits or those kind of products. But one should also be conscious of the fact that, okay, fine, I mean as per my asset allocation, if equity is something that I want to maintain, I should probably keep adding more equities either through lump sum or through SIP to keep my balance going, and that will also help me sort of reach my goals much faster than what the plans that I have in mind.
Okay, all right. Since we were talking about life goals and children's education, etc., I had to ask you, Manish, is it prudent or is it allowed to invest in a mutual fund in a minor's name, or should one just go ahead investing as a parent and then later, once the minor turns 18, sort of transfer it? I mean, how do you plan if you want to invest for your children's education?
No, so in fact, mutual funds do give the ability for someone to start an investments in the name of a minor also, and with the parent being the guardian for that particular investment. So that option is definitely available for someone who wants to start direct investments in the name of the child. Or the other way would be that they start something in their name, keeping the child as an ultimate beneficiary and ensuring that they continue to keep monitoring that investments for that particular moment of time. Sometimes what happens is, in extreme volatility, people forget their life goals and start taking I would say decisions on impulsive decisions on portfolios which are not warranted for. Like last March 2020, in the first wave, probably we spoke to so many investors who at that point of time just decided that they want to stop all investments, including SIPs. And with data was proven that if you did that, you permanently booked your loss at that point of time. And if you look at the same SIP returns 1 year down the line, all returns are very, very encouraging. So and that's the time that investor has to keep reminding himself what the purpose of that investment. If that money was kept for my child's education 15-20 years down the line, then I should not be touching that money. Okay. So I think it's very important that you keep that in mind. So we sometimes we tell a lot of mutual fund distributors tell their clients that the first account statement that gets generated, they make them write on top, this is for my child's education, and sign it and say, see this every time before you take that impulsive decision.
In the taxation angle, is there any difference between investing for your child separately in a children's kind of a scheme or investing as an adult? I mean, is there any difference at all?
No, all mutual funds will have same taxation guidelines. So as long as you keep it for the long term, then the long term capital gains tax kicks in. If you keep it for short term, which is not the case because SIP by definition itself is focused on long term. So most of the SIPs will be taxed under the long term capital gains if they hold it for more than 12 months.
Okay.
That depends on from the date of installment that goes into the SIP account. So every installment that you make has to complete 12 months. So then you get into the long-term capital gains.
Long-term capital gains tax. All right. And since we're talking about the benefits between SIP and lump sum, does it make a difference to your portfolio gains? Say if I do an SIP and if you do a lump sum at the start of a year, 3 years later, will your portfolio gains be more than mine? I mean, is there any proven fact like that?
See, it depends on at what point of time we are starting to invest. Let's say we assume that we started investing in March to June 2020 period. Then maybe a lump sum investment would have got you better returns simply because markets have given phenomenal returns. And your subsequent investments in SIP would have come at higher valuations or higher prices. But we all know that it's very difficult to time markets.
Well, just before we wind up, since we're talking about the different kind of SIPs, you spoke about a regular SIP, which is a plain vanilla SIP. Then there's a top-up SIP. There's also a perpetual SIP, a trigger SIP, SIP with insurance. I mean, tell us what are the benefits and what's the difference?
Sure. So these are all sort of I would say added bells and whistles to the product. So a perpetual SIP is nothing but whereby when you start the SIP, you don't define the end date. And that's what a lot of people do that they say that okay fine I don't want to put an end date to it, because our experience in the past always has been when people try out SIPs for 12-24 months, the tendency to restart it again becomes a little poor until unless you don't follow up on ensuring that you've ensure the continuity of the SIP. So it's always so many people do choose a perpetual plan where they say that I don't want to define the end period. Whenever I do feel like wanting to stop it, all I need to do is instruct the mutual fund house and my bank to ensure that my installments don't get debited from the bank account. A trigger is again like a flex SIP or a SIP top up, a feature facility whereby it's an enabler that in a particular month, on a particular date, in case if there is an extreme volatility and an opportunity, you add on little bit more on those particular dates. So rather than you being able to time that day and make arrangements to make that investment, that feature is available. Couple of mutual funds also do provide an insurance cover on the SIP. So it's typically would be certain times the SIP installment that you're doing. And there are various insurance features like which some asset management companies provide, which could be an accident insurance cover or a life insurance cover. But those are all just like an added feature to try to package the product, to the end consumer. It's also good to see that yes, the awareness is increasing. So there are times when especially when we go to the tier 2, tier 3 city towns and when we do investor awareness program and ask people कि आप म्यूचुअल फंड्स में इन्वेस्ट करते हो एंड दे टेंड एंड से हम म्यूचुअल फंड्स में नहीं करते, हम SIP करते हैं. So it's nice to hear that, but I mean I'm sure like through these kind of programs, if you're able to clarify more such doubts that people have, it's good to have more such people coming into the investment
absolutely fold. I mean financial literacy is such a big goal, such a big project for us at CNBC TV18 as well, and I'm sure it is at Kotak Mutual Fund too. Yes. Because the market is severely underpenetrated, right?
Yes.
After all that we've done over the last decade or so, what about 5%, 6% are invested in financial assets?
Not even that much. I mean, if you look at SIP folios in the industry today, it's only 4.6 crore accounts. Okay. So you can imagine what the kind of penetration is. And as Manish said, the average investment is about 2,300, and that's what gives you a monthly input figure of about 10,500 crores a month. It is steadily increasing, but in terms of penetration levels, it's very, very low even now.
So thank you so much for joining us. It was really a pleasure speaking to you. And thanks to all of you. This has been quite an informative session. Thank you very much for watching this particular episode of the Investment series. That's it for this week, but do keep watching because we will be coming back with lots more.
Kotak Mutual Fund presents Invest Mentor in association with Network 18.
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.
Focus. Ideate. Innovate. Enable.